Hello BookTube, Sarah here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming to the discussion video, and that is rating sexy times in books. Now, I know I mentioned this about a month or so ago that I wanted to start doing this for you guys. I think around when I did my July wrap-up, and I wanted some time to sit and think about it before I just decided to pick that these were how I was going to rate these books. And I looked up online because I know there's a lot of bloggers that I follow, and they'll go, the star rating was this, and then the steamy rating was this. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. This isn't like a rating system for just romance novels. I'm going to apply this rating to all books that I read except for like the Babysitter's Club, because that would just be weird. So essentially, this is sex in books doesn't bother me. It's something I don't mind reading, but I know there's a lot of people who might not care for that. And, they hear about this great book and they think, well, this book I'm really going to enjoy. It's a great story about romance and family. But then you realize that the characters are getting it on like every other chapter. And that might be something that makes somebody very uncomfortable. And on the flip side, there are also people who, I could say, oh, this was a really great book. Now, keep in mind, there were some sexy times in this book and whatever, and the person goes in thinking, and then in reality, it's like once or twice, and they're like, oh, I kind of like a lot of that in a book. I'm not here to judge. So I think that I've done an okay job trying to figure this out. Like I said, I looked at how other people rate stuff, and I kind of devised my own rating system. I know a lot of people, like book bloggers and stuff, will use like flames for the steaminess of a book. I'm actually going to use hearts because I think it's cute. Stars, so my normal star ratings are still going to be given every month, but now I'm also going to include, like I said, except for the Babysitter's Club books, a heart rating on how much sex is in these books, to be frank. And I'm actually working on creating some cute little graphics. Like just something little. So the book will go up here, like the picture of the book will go here, and then right underneath will be a graphic of the rating for the star rating, and then below that will be the rating for the hearts. So you guys can see it at a quick glance exactly what it is. And also when I list the books in my wrap-ups at the end of the month. So this will only be given for the wrap-ups. I'll list, how I typically list all the books that I talk about. Well, underneath them, underneath the links to go to Goodreads to find them, I will again list my star and heart rating, so you guys can check it out. So there's actually 6 ratings. I know most people go with 5, but I decided to go with 6, and that might seem like a lot, but in some of these cases, some books can even overlap from one rating to another. But I thought this was the easiest way to break it down for you guys, and to break it down for me as well. And please also note that when I do my wrap-ups, I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you guys, but I'll leave information below. And I'll leave this below too, so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. Is when I do my wrap-ups, I will leave that little heart rating, and I'll just do a very brief, like, this means this, this means this. So, without any further ado, let's jump in and start talking about how we're rating these books. So we're starting off with 0 hearts. If a book has 0 hearts, essentially, there's no sex in the book. I was going to say this is pretty much all nonfiction, but that's not true. I read a nonfiction book earlier this year, the Victorian Women's Guide by Teresa O'Neill. I can't remember the name of it now, but that talked very frankly about sex. Even though the act might not happen, if it's discussed in any sort of graphic detail, that will get, that's going to get another star rating, a different heart rating, excuse me. This is for books that contain no sex at all. So for that, I'm pretty much looking at something like this. Open Hearts by Kate Bull. This is about children's heart surgery. So there's a heart on the cover, but it would get 0 hearts because there would be no sex in this book. So yeah, or any romance or relationships or anything at all like that too. Because this isn't just talking about sex. These ratings aren't just talking about sex. They're also talking about, romance, essentially, in a book. Because you can have one without the other as far as I'm concerned. So that is 0 hearts. 1 heart. This is your hand holding, your kissing, there is some romance. This is your Christian fiction type of romance. There's no mention of sex at all. So that is what would get 1 heart. And like I said, typically that is your Christian fiction. I haven't read a lot of Christian fiction, so I don't know if sex ever gets mentioned in those novels. If they do, they might get a different heart rating. But this is your standard from what I've read, single heart. 2 hearts. Sex is implied. but there's nothing graphic. So I'm just reading from my notes. Implied sex, nothing graphic, no descriptions. So for an example for this kind of book is one that I read a bit earlier this month, and that was Saints for All Occasions by Courtney J. Sullivan, or J. Courtney Sullivan, I'm not sure exactly how the author's name goes. I listened to that on audio, and it was a great historical fiction novel. And in the novel, one of the main characters gets married, and it talks about her sleeping with her husband, or not wanting to because she thinks it's something else, you know what I mean? And, you know, she doesn't want to put that kind of commitment into the relationship, but then they do consummate the marriage. So there's nothing descriptive about it, but it is talked about and you know it happens. So again, it's between a married couple, but that doesn't matter. That's regardless. This is what a 2-star rating is that sex is implied, but there's nothing graphic about it. I hope I'm giving you guys enough information and this makes sense. 3 Hearts. This is going to be the bulk of contemporary romance. That's what falls into this category as far as I'm concerned. There is sex in these books. There is some description in these books. There are maybe 1 or 2 sex scenes. It's not overtly graphic. It's, let's be honest, it's the foreplay, right? And then they go into the bedroom and the door gets closed. You know, Kristen Higgins, Susan Mallory, Susan Wakes, they're really great at this kind of closed door sex scenes, as I like to call them. So, you know, it is something that might make some people uncomfortable, but they don't, pardon the pun, they don't last very long, and it might only happen once or twice in the book. You know, or it might only be like a page or 2 in length as you're reading it. So, yeah, so that is 3 Hearts. Excuse me. 4 Hearts. Erotica. So, again, there are some instances where some books may, like, straddle the line between a 3 and a 4 heart book. For example, Jill Shalvis. Jill Shalvis can write some very descriptive and longer sex scenes, and they tend to happen more frequently in her novels, except for the one I just read this month, Lost and Found Sisters. I'll talk more about that in my wrap-up. Love that book. Anyway, spoiler alert for my wrap-up. With most of her novels, she straddles that line where, you know, it's not overtly graphic, it's not overtly erotic, but there are more frequent than most contemporary romance novels, and they can end up being a little bit more graphic. Now, for a true 4 heart book, I'm thinking about the Harlequin Blaze novels. They're erotic. And those are the bulk of what I read that would fall under that category. And, you know, you're getting a lot of sex scenes, you're getting a lot of graphic sex scenes, and they're the ones where you are in the room, essentially. There's no closed door and whatever happens, you're in the room. So, yeah, so that is a 4-star. So I bet you're probably wondering, well, what on earth is a 5 heart book? I did a lot of thinking about this, and I didn't know whether I wanted to include this rating or not, but I decided to go with it. The chances of me actually reading a book that would rate 5 hearts are slim. Not because I don't like that kind of thing. I don't mind it. Again, these things don't bother me in books at all. Am I going to hand this kind of book to my mother and go, you need to read this? Probably not. Sorry guys, I just had a major coughing fit. So like I just said, I wouldn't hand these kind of books to my mother and go, read this, but it doesn't bother me, right? And also in the interest of not offending anyone, your bedroom habits are your business. They're not mine. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own version of what is considered to be normal or conventional. A 5 heart book is unconventional sex. And again, I'm not trying to offend anybody. Please don't be posting me in the comments saying that for me and my partner, such and such is completely normal. That's great. I'm glad for you. I'm just saying with the population at large, some of these things might not be considered to be conventional. This book, for lack of a better visual on this kind of book, is 50 Shades of Grey. You've got Whips and Chains, you've got the BDSM, you've got the Red Room. That's what I'm talking about, a 5-star. In terms of the amount of sex and how graphic the sex is, it's probably the same as a 4 heart book. But it's the type of sex that's going to put it that 1 extra heart. Does that make sense? And again, this is another one where there are some books that could straddle that line. And when I do wrap-ups, I will mention that to you guys if that is the case. There are some Harlequin Blaze books that do straddle that line. They don't go into as descriptive or as unconventional as 50 Shades did, but there are a few things that might be considered not to be the norm, if I can use that terminology. So yeah, so anyway guys, that is the rating system. Again, I will leave my quick little descriptions below so you guys can kind of see it, read it over again, and I will do that every month when I do my wrap-up so you guys know and you can quickly look at it. And I'm hoping as I do this and as I go forward, you guys know what kind of books you're into. Like, if you know, 3-star, you're okay with, 4-star, no. And if I'm doing a wrap-up of a book and I say it was a 4-heart book, sorry, I keep saying stars, it was a 4-heart book, you can know, oh, it sounds really good, but I think I'm going to stay clear of that one. So, you know what I mean? Or even those of us who don't mind that, but you're like, oh, 5-star, 5-heart book. That might be a little bit much for me. So yeah. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this makes sense. I hope you enjoy me doing this, that I like to try and help the community a little bit, because there are so many different types of romance novels, and just books in general. This isn't just for romance novels. Like I said, I will be rating every book that I read. It doesn't matter, if it's a mystery, even cozy mysteries, stuff like that. Like, they can contain these kind of things. It just doesn't have to be centered around romance novels. I mean, even YA can have this kind of information, right? So anyway, that's it for this video. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below if these ratings make sense, if you think I should change them. Yeah. And anyway, guys, that's about it. So until my next video, take care and happy reading. Bye, guys.